For a live, rare interview, and together we're going to hold President Obama accountable for all the tall tales that he told during last night's State of the Union address. But first, the Associated Press fact-checked the president's speech, and they said that President Obama was, quote, cherry-picking when it came to a few of the facts. Now, here are two of the biggest mistruths. Watch this.
After years of grueling recession, our businesses have created over 6 million new jobs. After shedding jobs for more than 10 years, our manufacturers have added about 500,000 jobs over the past 3.
Now, we all wish those numbers that he threw out were true, but unfortunately, as many fact-checkers pointed out today, those numbers are not even close. And, of course, President Obama also failed to mention that unemployment is higher today than the day he took office. But those were not the only questionable figures that he tossed around last night. Let's watch this.
Over the last few years, both parties have worked together to reduce the deficit by more than $2.5 trillion. Mostly through spending cuts, but also by raising tax rates on the wealthiest 1% of Americans. As a result, we are more than halfway towards the goal of $4 trillion in deficit reduction that economists say we need to stabilize our finances. Tonight, I'll lay out additional proposals that are fully paid for and fully consistent with the budget framework both parties agreed to just 18 months ago. Let me repeat. Nothing I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit by a single dime.
Pretty amazing the president can say that with a straight face, because according to the Treasury Department, since the day that he stepped in the Oval Office, the outstanding public debt has increased by over $5.8 trillion. And guess what? That's 58.6 trillion dimes. Joining me with reaction, we call him the Great One, out of his bunker. Rare, you know, it probably would be easier to get an interview with Obama and the Pope than to get you out of that bunker. Welcome, old Great One. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you, brother?
Good. All right. You know, this figure, let's go to this. He says this thing, that's not going to add one dime to the deficit. Republicans came out with an ad. Let's start there.
Nothing I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit by a single dime. Healthcare reform will not add one dime to our deficit without adding a dime to our deficits. I won't sign it if that reform adds even one dime to our deficit over the next decade. And I mean what I say. Simple rule that says Congress can't spend a dime without cutting a dime elsewhere. This legislation is fully paid for and will not add one single dime to our deficit. We will not pay for health insurance reform by adding to our deficits. I will not sign a bill that adds a dime to our deficits, either now or in the future. I will not sign a plan that adds one dime to our deficit. And the only way we can do it, we will not add one dime to our deficit. If Washington starts taking responsibility for every dime that it's spent, so that it doesn't add a dime to our deficit.
58.6 trillion dimes, Mr. Levin.
You know, I would say to the president, why do you keep lying? Why do you keep lying to the American people? A Castro-like speech last night, albeit in English. Lie after lie after lie. I'll tell you why you keep lying, because your record stinks. 23 million people are unemployed. Real unemployment's almost 15%. You didn't say any of this in your long speech last night. 1 in every 4 families affected by unemployment. 8.5 million people have left the workforce, the lowest since 1948. 1 in 6 people live in poverty. Median family income has dropped by 5%. Meanwhile, the members of Congress are jumping up like clapping seals, applauding all this. Gasoline prices, the highest on record for any February 13th. The economy actually shrank. Nearly 25 cents of every dollar produced in our economy is taken by the federal government. He didn't say any of this. He didn't say any of this because it's embarrassing. It's a disaster. And here's the problem. The reason why he doesn't take responsibility for this is, before you can even hold him to account, he's proposing more programs, more trusts, more partnerships, more agencies, more spending, and so you can't keep up with the guy. So for him, America is a problem. The free enterprise system is a problem. The American people are a problem. He treats us like we're France. And one of the things that bothers me most, Sean, is this. This is a copy of the Constitution. This is a Bible. Obama put his hand on this and swore to uphold this, and then he keeps saying, as he did last night to Congress, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to act on my own. Well, I hate to tell him this, but he's not a dictator. I know he thinks he's an imperial president, but the fact of the matter is we do have 3 branches of government. He has to work with all of them, but he doesn't want to.
You know, I've used the term imperial president. You've used it. You know, in your book, Ameritopia, you actually said this is a post-constitutional America. Well, what does that mean? I mean, and especially we now see that if he doesn't like what he gets, he just uses executive orders, does pretty much what he wants. But in the context of what he's doing, what does that mean for the country?
It means a disaster because now we're a country of men and not laws. The President of the United States gets up there and gives a laundry list of things he's going to do to us, things he's going to do to our businesses, to our workplace, to our communities. That's not the way it's supposed to work. We're the citizens. We're not the subjects. And the fact of the matter is the Constitution does not confer this kind of power on the President. Big deal. He won an election. Congratulations. He won by 3 or 4%. He's not exactly landslide Barrack. Okay, we get it. He's President. But the Constitution was not up for election on election night. And I'm sick and tired of him and his party and his sycophants constantly promoting ideas that will attack it. As an example, the Second Amendment. All of his proposals on how to change the Second Amendment. That Second Amendment belongs to us, we the people, like all the rest of the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, where he attacks religious liberty. The Fourth Amendment, where he attacks due process. The Fifth Amendment, where he attacks property rights. The Ninth Amendment, which he ignores. The Tenth Amendment, federalism, which he thinks is a joke. It's not a joke, and we need to start speaking out about this.
Right. One of the things you commented a lot, and, you know, look, Republicans have a single house. If they are not united, then they have no power. So give me your best strategy. Look, and I'm going to get into Rubio in the next segment with you. You're sticking with us for 2. If I'm going to grab you out of the bunker, Levin, I'm holding you for 2 because it's a rare appearance.
Right.
So if they unite, they can stop him. They have power to a certain extent, but if he doesn't use executive powers. So what advice do you have for the Republicans? How do they battle this guy when he's using the same rhetoric, the same class warfare, predictable stuff? I mean, we saw it all last night on display, the same stuff.
I'll tell you, Hal, start acting like men and women. Start toughening up. Start drawing lines and mean it. Just say no, as Nancy Reagan used to say, but just say no to Obama. Obama's addicted to government, he's addicted to debt, he's addicted to spending. Okay, well, we have a problem on our hands. We can't keep feeding it. So sometimes you got to make some tough decisions. If it requires shutting down the government a few days, you shut it down. Hell, we shut down the government every weekend. Everybody goes home, you know, except for essential services. Are they all there at the Agriculture Department and the EPA on Saturdays and Sundays? No. Well, we'll extend their weekend to Thursday or Friday. There are things that we can do and we must do. But most of all, speak out. Tell the American people what you see. Tell the American people what this administration is. Tell them what he's doing to this country. Stop acting like groom politicians. Speak in plain English.
What do you fear the most? I look at the debt and the deficit, I'm saying, how does America now rob for our kids? It'll be the first generation where we leave the country worse off than what we inherited. I look at the world as falling apart. He's cutting defense, and we're giving F-16s to the Muslim Brotherhood along with our best tanks. So I'm worried on the national security front. What do you fear the most?
Well, I fear it all. I fear exactly what you say. It's across the board. This president has unleashed so many attacks on our system, on our society, and it's obviously quite intentional. That's what he means by fundamentally transforming America. What he means by that is hollowing out our military, which he considers imperial and colonial type of a military that has done negative things. Imagine that, the commander-in-chief. He is not securing the border despite the propaganda. Anybody goes down to the border, you know it. He's using executive fiats to undermine existing law, whether it's welfare and the work aspect of it, whether it's our immigration laws, and now they're destroying our health care system, one regulation at a time. I fear it all. The issue is, what do we do about it? What we do about it is we dig in and we fight him every step of the way. Whatever he wants, he doesn't get. When he violates the separation of powers doctrine and starts legislating by fiat, we go into court. If we lose in court, we take him to court on another matter. We have got to use the political brass knuckles. We have to slow him down because this man's in a hurry. He doesn't like the constitutional system. He doesn't like separation of powers. He doesn't like checks and balances. So we have to do everything we can politically, legally, to slow him down.
All right, when we come back, we'll have more with the great one. I want to get your thoughts on Rubio and his response last night. Also, the media's obsession with him taking a sip of water. We have pictures of, let's see, Obama and Hillary taking a sip as well. Mark Levin, stay right there. And then, as the Christopher Dorner saga played out on the air.
Is to propose a net spending cut. Every dollar that I proposed an additional cut so that it matches. And I want to go through the federal budget line by line, page by page. Programs that don't work, we should cut. Today, I'm pledging to cut the deficit we inherited by half by the end of my first term in office. I will use the money we're no longer spending on war to pay down our debt. My plan would cut our deficit by $4 trillion.
Well, there's no doubt that our first order of business is going to be to get our deficits and debt under control. I truly believe that if we can get the deficit and debt issue solved, which I believe we can get done, in the lame duck or in the immediate aftermath of the lame duck.
But what my opponent didn't tell you was that federal spending, since I took office, has risen at the slowest pace of any president in almost 60 years. The state of our economy calls for action, bold and swift, and we will act, not only to create new jobs, but to lay a new foundation for growth. And I'm not going to rest until every American who's looking for work can find a job, until we put America back to work. Jobs must be our number one focus in 2010, and that's why I'm calling for a new jobs bill tonight. In the last 22 months, businesses have created more than 3 million jobs. Last year, they created the most jobs since 2005. American manufacturers are hiring again, creating jobs for the first time since the late 1990s.
What do you think about all these things that he gets away with? You can add Benghazi to the list. How does he get away with it? Is it just the media? People are interested in, I don't know, other things? Why?
Well, first of all, if everything's so swimmingly going along here, why do we need all these programs? He should have just said, America's in great shape, good night. And he didn't do that because it's a joke. How does he get away with it? Well, you know how he gets away with it. The media in this country are sycophants. They root for big government. Academia in this country, they live off of big government. And, of course, the Democrat Party has been hijacked by the radical left. There are no more moderate, conservative Democrat politicians. They're a bunch of 1960s retreads, or worse. That's how he gets away with it. So the problem for me, though, is when you listen to him, I'm focusing on jobs, he's destroying jobs. I'm focusing on the debt, he's ballooning the debt. Everything he focuses on, he destroys. So you got to hope he's not going to focus on you.
I hope so. All right, let me ask you this. I thought the big story of the night was the Republican response, Marco Rubio. And we'll get into this later as the program unfolds, Mark, but they're making a big deal. The Drudge Report has a headline, Watergate 2013. And it's interesting, you know, I've given speeches, you've given speeches. I take a sip of water when I'm giving a speech. I have my water right here, my Poland Springs right there. I take drinks while I'm on the air. But that's their focus because I think the substance was so good. Now let's look at Barack Obama. This was put out by the AP. It's also on the Drudge Report. Let's see, Obama taking a sip during the speech, Hillary taking a sip during the speech, Marco Rubio taking a sip during the speech, and you got 4,000 Google alert articles about Marco Rubio. What do you make of that?
Well, Obama takes a cigarette drag when nobody's looking, and, Clinton's hanging out when the interns when nobody's looking. I think this is stupid. I watched the Rubio speech, and I thought it was the greatest reply to a State of the Union speech I ever saw. and the substance was unbelievable. He laid out the conservative principled case and applied it to what's going on today in our society, but he also laid out what Obama was doing in no uncertain terms and what the future looks like with either path. This Rubio is a superstar. He was excellent. Look, I know he didn't have the clapping seal jumping up and down every time and 20 minutes of a pre-show, pre-State of the Union discussion, hype from the media and all the presidential trappings and all, which makes it more remarkable what Rubio did. Rubio gave a tremendous speech, and frankly, so did Rand Paul.
Yeah. I agree with both of those things. I thought it was the best speech response to a State of the Union that I've seen. I agree with you on that point. I agree about Rand Paul also. You said, and it caused a little bit of a controversy, about the Muslim Brotherhood having infiltrated our government, and I believe it was in reference to the F-16s and the tanks that were given to Morsi, the 9/11 truther that thinks the Israelis are descendants of apes and pigs, which is the dumbest policy I think I've seen. Explain.
Well, they might as well have infiltrated our government. They have a friend in the Oval Office. They've had visitors in the Oval Office. I don't know why we can't be truthful about this, why we have to censor the facts. The fact is that Obama is insisting on arming a terrorist regime, the Muslim Brotherhood regime in Egypt, that is now coordinating with or attempting to align itself with the regime that's in Tehran. And why the hell would we be sending them 16 F-16s and Abrams tanks and everything else when that government, in fact, may fall? Why do we reward that? I mean, we're hollowing out our own military. We can't even have 2 aircraft carriers in the region at the same time. An aircraft carrier, Lincoln, hasn't moved because we can't fuel it. We're giving 16 F-16s to the Muslim Brotherhood president of Egypt. That's exactly what I mean. This president has his priorities all screwed up.
All right, great one. Good to see us. Come out of the bunker once in a while and join us. We love having you. Thank you.
God bless you. Take care.
God bless you. You're a great American. And coming up tonight.
He does have a great sense of the media.